Hello, Sin7 community, and welcome to today's special webinar. I am Julie Fox. I am the Global Director of Customer Success with Sin7, and I am absolutely thrilled for you guys to be joining us. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to learn more about Inventoro and see how this may fit for your team. First off, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Again, we really know that your time is valuable, and we promise to make the next 60-ish minutes well worth it. When we've done these in the past, we don't always use up all the time. We will have plenty of time for Q&A. So that's why I gave the 60-ish disclaimer there. As far as today's agenda, our end goal is to give you a exclusive look into Inventoro and showcase for you guys the incredible value that it can bring to your business. Alongside me, I have Zoe, who is our account manager here at Sin7. Waving to everybody. Redeem, give us a wave. He is the co-founder of Inventoro, and together we'll be your hosts for this exciting session. Oh, and here are our pictures. I feel like I've done this before where I just start talking and I'm so focused on talking to you guys that I forget that I'm also supposed to be changing the slides. So sorry about that. But again, we have Redeem, who will be leading us through the demo. He's the co-founder of Inventoro. We have Zoe here, who is our account manager here at Sin7. And I am Julie Fox, and I am the Global Director of Customer Success. As far as an agenda, we are going to lead you guys through understanding the motivation behind the acquisition, why we bought Inventoro. We'll lead you guys through, or I guess Redeem will lead you through a capabilities demo, which will really give you guys kind of a hands-on demonstration of what Inventoro can do, what that looks like. With that, we'll include some anecdotes of what we've seen customers, how they're using it, how it's improving their business and impacting their businesses. We will have time to address common questions that you guys have about Inventoro, as well as any questions that you guys bring to us. So one thing I'll mention is we do really want you guys to ask questions. So there is a feature down at the bottom. Let me see if we've got this all set up correctly. We do. So if you guys click on the three dots, if you guys are welcome to try this now, or you can wait if you feel comfortable. So if you click on the three dots where it says more and then click Q&A, you guys will then be prompted to ask any questions that you guys have. We really do encourage you to ask your questions in that way so that as we're going through the demo, as we're leading you through the kind of the slide deck and talking through what Inventoro can do, if you have questions specific to your business, your use case, let us know. We'll do our best to get through all of them and kind of answer those after the demonstration. But if we do not get to everything, we will follow up with you in an email. So if there's something that's really specific to your company that you don't want us to answer live, by all means, you can still put it in there and maybe even just like put in parentheses, like don't answer live if it's specific information to your business. So again, use the Q&A feature. We will get to those at the end. We'll have plenty of time for that. Also, a little bit of a teaser here. All registrants today will receive an exclusive offer that will go through the end of October. So more details to come on that towards the end, but wanted to let you guys know that that is coming. Without further ado, let's dive into why we are so excited about Inventoro and how it's going to revolutionize your inventory management. All right, everybody. So here at Sin7, this might be something that you guys have heard us say before, but our mission is to make product selling as easy as buying. Our goal is to help your businesses to grow and thrive, meaning that bringing Inventoro's values and capabilities into our product offerings really was a no-brainer for us when we thought of the unique challenges of product movement and availability that many of you guys face daily. Inventoro was the perfect technology within our ecosystem to complement our core competencies in inventory management. And by partnering together, we can now provide your businesses unprecedented inventory intelligence to help you to unlock efficiencies and outsmart, outsell, and outshine your competition. Sin7's solution is not just a traditional inventory management product. It's about connected inventory performance. And now with Inventoro, our vision has become even more powerful. Inventoro's capabilities mean that we are more impactful and connected than ever before. Effective inventory management is the cornerstone of our business scalability. And when our customers scale, we scale with them. It's this synergy that really connects businesses with their buyers, setting them up for sustained growth. Our approach places customers at the center of everything that we do, and it allows you to scale your product, scale your business, manage less, sell more, and gain comprehensive visibility over everything. All right, over to you, Zoe.
Awesome, thank you. So as you can see on this slide, this is how it all comes together. Sin7 is the fundamental solution for managing inventory and connecting with all channels. By adding product intelligence, you gain insights into what you're selling, well, when you're not, what to replenish and when to do it. It helps you avoid overstock and stockouts, ensuring that you always have the right amount of inventory on hand. Additionally, you can integrate your wholesalers' needs to create supply chain synergy. The combined approach offers an incredible solution for businesses to elevate their inventory management capabilities through advanced demand forecasting and comprehensive inventory control. It allows you to operate with greater efficiency, reduce expenses, and more effectively fulfill your demand. Sin7 is the foundation for effective inventory management. Now with Inventoro's advanced AI-driven insights and algorithms for sales forecasting, product performance insights, and more, we accelerate our customers' growth even faster. Next slide, please. So what that means, less stock taking, more rainmaking happens when you connect your entire inventory chain from supplier to customer in one fluid motion, giving you more time to focus on growth. These three core value pillars guiding Inventoro. These are the three core value pillars guiding Inventoro. What items to restock, when to restock, and in what quantities. This process involves meticulous SKU tracking, empowering retailers to execute timely replenishments and leverage intelligent demand predictions, adapting to factors such as seasonality. Basically, allow Inventoro to take out the headache of reordering and living in Excel spreadsheet land. As Redeem will show, you no longer need to use pivot tables, reporting, and wasting hours trying, and perhaps getting wrong, your reorder amount. Inventoro will save you time in reordering, take out the guesswork, thus giving you more time and money to make other business strategy decisions. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Redeem so he can do a live demo.
All right, I'll
Thank
stop
you for
sharing my
that.
screen and give it over to you, Redeem.
Thank you both of you, and welcome everyone. Welcome to our show. And here comes the demo. I hope yes. Now, what you see over here is the beginning of the Inventoro app as we know it. So let's first talk about how we actually create the forecast and how we get the data. Right. So on the graph over here, you see the forecast graph. I'm just turn the red one up for now, and it says today over here, right? So everything that is green at this part is historical data, and everything that is blue over here is the forecasted data. Now, we get the historical data from Sin7 accounts, right? So it's a seamless connection. It's a one-click sort of an experience where we download all the history and we use that history to create the forecast. And one of the benefits of being acquired by a company like Sin7 is that we get to concentrate on that connection very much. So our ability to exchange data throughout the months that we've been over here has improved a lot. So the longer we are together, the more information and the more insights we can actually get into our inventory. And that's the sort of strategy that we're going to go into getting forward, right? It's about leveraging the data that you have in your Omni accounts, using that data to create insights, to create forecasts, to tell you truth about your inventory. That's the goal over here that we're trying to do. Right, so we download the historical data, and then first of all, we clean it, right? Because if you want to forecast based on history, which is how forecasting works, it's Sin7, it's how forecasting works at Amazon, right? It's how all forecasting works, really. You need to clean the data to get rid of irregular or outlier sales, right? So if there's a big peak in sales, like unexpected, it doesn't make any sense to have an extreme sale, then we obviously clean it. And on the lower end, if you have a stock out and therefore no sales because stockouts are really the inability to sell, we need to identify that moment in history and again clean it. and put in the demand as if the sales were there, right? So you go through this process, and then we run the forecast. Now the forecast is done on a SKU level and a location level. All right. So if you have 100 products and you have 3 locations, 3 warehouses where you store those products, then we're gonna create 300 forecasts for those 300 SKUs. Actually, 100 SKUs by 3 times, obviously, in those 3 warehouses. And not only that, we have 100 different algorithms that we use for forecasting. Now, some of them are deep learning, machine learning, AI-based, sophisticated algorithms. And some of them are just mathematical models that have been proven by time as an effective method. Now, what we do is we run all of them on each SKU, and we measure their forecast accuracy. So simply saying the most accurate algorithm gets to forecast that particular SKU. So this happens every night. Every night we run this, we recalculate, we create the forecast, which is this blue part. Okay. Now you see over here that we have warehouse, we have supplier, we have category, and we have product, which kind of shows you also the basis of the forecasting, right? If we have product, that means we can forecast to the level of a SKU. Let's say, let's look at beer. And now this is demo data, right? So this is an artificial company, obviously for the purpose of presentation. But imagine all your SKUs being over here. You can look at a single category, you can look at a single location, or you can list out a supplier and their SKU, right? Now, once we do it, we cross-reference that data with your current inventory levels. So if the trick of what we're doing over here is that if we see how much you will sell in the future, we know how much inventory you need to have on hand or available to you right now. And equally, we need to know how much inventory you need to have available to you in the future. And we know these numbers because we're synced to Sin7 accounts, and we update that information. I think it's like once every 2 hours, we check your inventory levels, so we can immediately identify if you have enough inventory, if you have too much. Now, having this not enough or too much inventory is the problem that we're trying to avoid. That's why we exist. That's why we wrote the 1,000,000 lines of code to give you this experience. It's actually about 10 million lines of code, but regardless of, it's a heavy piece of technology that gives you the data that looks like this. You see this inventory health report? Let me click on it. So immediately, once you start using the system, we're going to tell you your current availability of products. That's stockouts reversed, right? So if it's 97.5, then your stockouts would be 2.95%. These stockouts take away $43,916 worth of revenue from your accounts, because if you don't have goods, you cannot sell them. If you cannot sell them, you're losing money on revenue you did not make. So we put a number on that to give you visibility on the size of the problem that you have. And on the other hand, we have the overstock problem. That's too much inventory, right? And that's represented over here with the overall number, right? So that this red number kind of shows you the reduction potential, right? So we want to boost the inventory that we're missing. We want to shrink the inventory that we don't have enough of. That's what we're trying to do over here. And we put that number too. So immediately from day one, you know what you're dealing with. And we show you the tactics to get rid of that, right? Now, in order for us to come up with those 3 sort of questions or 3 topics that we've been discussing over here, is how much to replenish, when to replenish, what to replenish. We need to know a lot about your business. So the first thing that we need to understand is what products are important, right? Because we're going to give them special attention. So that's why we have this winners and losers page, where the winners and losers page kind of identifies the most selling and best selling sort of products you have. We call them winners. Then we have chasers, which are still profitable. They still create revenue. And then we have losers, which don't create any profit and don't create any revenue. That's your dead stock. Okay.
Redeem. Just to jump in really quickly, is there a way
Yes.
that I could probably change what I want my winners and losers to be categorized by?
Yes. Thank you for that question. Yes. I mean, there's a setting that gives you the ability to identify if your winner is the most profitable item, or if it's the most sold item, or if it's the item creating the most margin, or if it's the item that is most frequently sold. Right. So based on these criteria, and it kind of shows you what sort of an organization you are, that's going to define it. But at the end of the day, we're going to list all your SKUs by this criteria, and we're going to list them site specific. And what do I mean by site specific? In this demo data, we have 45 SKUs. That's not a lot. Usually our clients would have hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands of SKUs for that matter. Not a problem. And we have 4 warehouses, right? So you could actually sort of have a winner that you can actually have a SKU that's a winner in one location, but end up being a chaser in a different location. Now, this sounds counterintuitive, but when you think about it, right? So let's say you sell sport equipment, right? And your skis are probably going to sell much better in the mountains than they're going to sell in your beach shop, right? So in the mountains, they're going to be a winner. They probably might even end up being a loser in your seaside venue, right? Because the demand is not there. So that's why we kind of identified by location. And then we list the products and we do a line and say, like, the 20% of products that create 80% of your business are your winners, and that's it. And now we understand what is important. So those winners, we're going to treat them like kings, right? And if we have any sort of supply chain experts around, so we're going to put the service level for winners to almost 100%. That means that no matter what, we will not allow you to have stockouts on winners. That's the most damaging thing you can do for your business, for your best sellers to not be available, right? So we want to keep them available. And we're not pushing so much on chasers, right? Because maintaining this almost 100% availability of things is expensive, right? The closer you get to 100%, the more inventory you need to have to account for errors, to account for hurricanes. I don't know why I said hurricanes, but any unexpected events that could sort of lead to sort of higher sales. Right, so that gives us an idea, right? Obviously, you can look at all of them, you can download them, and there's many ways how you can use this data, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be sort of inventory management. This could be marketing. This could be to really show your colleagues like what is important. I mean, I've been on so many calls where people were surprised to understand what are their top sellers, and you would think everybody would know, but they don't. Right. So I've actually seen a customer who was dealt with his whole team, is the owner. And we showed him with his end users, and he goes like, "Oh, this is interesting." And he immediately started giving orders to his team. He's like, "Peter, you from today, you'll be now sort of in charge of winners. And Mary, I'm giving you chasers. And Tom, it is now your life mission to get rid of losers." Right. And this happened in front of our eyes. And you're like, okay, so here you go. So this is just another sort of way how you can deal with information like this. And it goes across our platform. There's always many use cases to do this, right? Okay, so we have the forecast. We know what's important, right? So we're almost ready to replenish, but not quite, because then there's business and there's life, right? We need to put in limitations that are associated with purchasing. Now, the first limitation you might have are lead times with your suppliers. So we have a supplier list, which we download from your Sin7 account, where you set up your lead times and your purchase order periods. Now, lead times, that's kind of obvious. We never kind of explain lead times because that's kind of self-explanatory, isn't it? Now, but purchase order period defines how often you purchase, right? So the trick is not to have inventory. Like, nobody wants inventory. Having inventory is just a pain and it's expensive, right? Ideally, you want to have a retail business with no inventory and just making money, but that's not possible. You need to maintain something. But if that inventory can be lying at your supplier, it's always much easier, right? So ordering once a week and maintaining very little sort of stock and just coming in, like the truck coming in every week, is a business you want to be having, right? I mean, provided the transportation costs are low and your supply is around the corner and they don't charge you for transport, right? But on the other hand, your supplier can be in China and you have to be ordering by a container, and you're not going to sort of order a container every week because you're not going to pile it up, right? So there, the purchase order period could be like once a quarter or even half a year, right? And there's a big difference on the size of the PO that we're going to make if we're ordering for a week and we're ordering for half a year worth of goods, right? So that's why this purchase order period is important. I mean, throughout this demo, I'm not going to go through all settings, and I'm not going to talk about every single feature you see in front of your eyes. I mean, there's always people here in the organization which can go deep into the problem once you'll be interested, and I highly encourage you to contact us and ask anything. But the second part that I want to show you are warehouses, right? Now, warehouses, there can be many warehouses, and they can have a production sort of purpose. Right? Well, let's talk about that. Now, first of all, the situation you see over here, you have the central warehouse, which defines your distribution center, right? So you would have suppliers that kind of supply your stuff into your distribution center, and then your distribution center sends out the goods throughout your branches or your brick and mortar sort of stores, right? So you set up the hierarchy like that. It means that we're gonna prepare POs to go to the central warehouse from suppliers, and then we're gonna prepare transfers that go from the DC to New York store, because that's how you operate, right? And I can sort of I can drag and drop this and create a structure I want. And what I can also do is, if you're into an assembly, like if you're ordering raw materials and you're assembling them into products and you're selling those products, or you can be bundling your products or anything like that, then I can just say, okay, so raw material goes into a central warehouse. New York store is the production facility, which I'll go just like ka-ching, click, and now it's a production facility. There, the raw materials are turned into final products, and from final products are transferred into your city store. And throughout the history, and Zoe will confirm this, we've seen it all. I mean, like, we've seen so bizarre sort of warehouse structures. We always find a way how to get them in. We can fine tune a lot of sort of complicated warehouse structures out there. But this is kind of the gist of what we do and how we do it. Okay. So it really comes down to, if we can mimic this sort of warehouse hierarchy, then we can mimic your POs, we can mimic your transfers, and we can mimic your production jobs, all sort of reversed engineered. Let me sort of hold there the thought. Like, so we know the demand, we know the forecast, because that's what we forecast. We forecast sales. We know how much people will buy, but they buy at the lowest instance, right? They buy at the store. Now we need to then translate that forecast into demand that goes to the production facility. And then we need to translate that demand that goes to the raw materials into the DC. And then we need to translate that demand that goes to the supplier, right? And we will put you the dates and the lists and the values exactly how you need it, when you need it, to get that perfect flow and everything available on time once you go there. Okay, so warehouses, right? And the last set of settings, which are sort of over here. Oh, sorry. The last set of settings are over here in the edit arena, which are really sort of fine tuning, right? And there's a lot I can be saying about this, but the point is that these are settings on SKU level and location again, right? You see beer, 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 beer. So why do we have beer 4 times? Well, we have beer 4 times because it's in 4 different warehouses. It's the New York store, the Sydney store, Paris store. So any setting that I'm going to talk about now can be applied on that really sort of SKU local level. So you can have a different setting for the same SKU in each location, right? Now, what are these settings? The first one is minimum order quantity as a limiter for your replenishment. And the second one is packing. Packing defines the packs in which you would order, right? So you could order, like, let's say if you're packing 6, then our POs would be recommending anything divisible by 6. So you buy 6 or 12 or 18, 24, etc. Order and visible. So taking out order means you can take out the product from ordering. Visible, you can take it completely out from forecasting and completely out from the platform. Then there's things like minimum inventory, maximum inventory. We got expiration dates. We got purchase order period, lead time. We spoke about that, and all others. There's things like assigning predecessors when you're introducing a new product to the market. We don't have a history. Well, you can assign a history to that product using a different product that you've been selling before. You can come up with replenishment recommendations. I won't go into that, but I'm
Really
just saying it's
quickly,
elaborate.
just to
Should
kind of
I?
jump in really quickly. So based on the minimum inventory and the maximum inventory, can you talk a little bit
Yeah.
more on how that's related to the safety stock that Inventoro calculates?
Oh, yeah. Cool. Okay. So minimum inventory and maximum inventory is something you do not have to set up because it's our job to do that. It's our job to maintain a minimum inventory. But our minimum inventory doesn't mean we're going to run you out to zero, right? We're never going to run you out to zero. We don't want stock out, right? So we always maintain a buffer stock. Right? So if I go into over here, I show you the buffer stock, and I turn off these forecasts, this sort of baseline represents your buffer stock. And we're saying that this is the extra stock above the forecast that we're going to maintain. So simply saying, I have the safety stock, I have the sales forecast, and our purchase order recommendations would be done as so that you would maintain a little bit above the forecast. Now, the above the forecast that we're going to maintain isn't a random number. It's a calculated number. And that number is based on forecast accuracy, something we calculate. We show it to you. See this number over here. And show it to you on a SKU level, right? And we also look at lead time variability or lead time accuracy. Now, what does that mean? If your supplier is supposed to come in 14 days, but they're late again and again and again, the system kind of remembers and checks every single time, are they late or not? And if they continue to be late, then their lead time variability increases. And when it does so, we need to be prepared for that. We need to be prepared for them being late again. That means we need to have extra stock so we don't run out because of their lateness. Is lateness a word, Zoe? I don't
Sure.
know. I'm not. Okay. Because of their lateness. Okay. So yeah,
That's
so all
actually,
comes together, right? Yes.
I was going to say that's a really good segue into the forecast accuracy. So it looks like yours is pretty high. You know, Vegas odds 79% looks pretty good. But what if it is a little bit lower? What does that mean, and what does Inventoro do to account for that?
Yeah. So if it's lower, then we're going to create a bigger buffer stock, right? But don't be if the forecast accuracy is 50 or something like that, which it usually doesn't go that low, but it may. I mean, it depends, and it's not dependent on. It's dependent on a lot of things, but much more, I would just say it's about the predictability of your business, right? So we're going to increase the buffer stock, right? But our buffer stock is never going to be like that. We're going to create dead stock for, right? The buffer stock is always going to be minimum towards what you have. Now we do spend a lot of time sort of analyzing overstock, like it's our it's our, I would say, thing that what we do is we look at overstock all the time. And some clients have overstock worth like, a month worth of sales. Some have half a year worth of sales. Some have a year worth of sales. Some have 2 years worth of sales, and some have 10 years worth of sales, right? And that's not an unnormal figure, right? To see a client that they need to have something like 50 pieces in stock, ideally, actually they have 10,000 because they just made a horrible mistake in purchasing, right? So our buffer stock is never going to be like, we're going to order like a 10,000 more. Yes, the lower the accuracy, the more buffer stock we're going to create. But that lead time accuracy is points to buffer stock much more, to be honest with you, right? So if your suppliers are late, then your buffer stock is gonna increase much more than if your forecast accuracy is low, right? And again, forecast accuracy is based on this is a sum number for all. Right? You want to be looking at SKU level, right? So we really want to be sort of accurate on winners because that's usually what we're purchasing. So again, treat that number with cautious. Okay, so we come to replenishment. Okay, now replenishment. Do we have any sort of questions? We can do questions in between.
Okay, there's a couple questions specifically about winners and losers in forecasts. So let's maybe answer some of those questions real quick before we get more coming in.
Yeah.
Let's see, would this be able to manage forecasting for light manufacturing with the use of bombs? For example, we will need to know when to put in a PO to manufacture more of our final goods, but we also need to know when to purchase more of the raw ingredients that get used to manufacture, to make those final goods.
Yes, that's a typical use case we handle, and I'll show you in a moment how we do that. The bombs we take from Synth 7, right? So the moment you connect, those are gonna be accounted for. And the trick is that we obviously forecast the final goods, but we then sort of translate that forecast into the raw materials accordingly and on time. So yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how this accounts for unexpected fluctuations in stock levels?
Unexpected fluctuation. That's why we have buffer stock, right? I mean, that's for unexpected things, right? I mean, there's very sort of limited businesses. Let's say maybe the car industry would be just doing just in time sort of replenishment, right? So we're really sort of the factory is holding no stock, and only in the morning the suppliers kind of drive in with whatever material is needed to build a car because there's just no space to put that thing. Right? But in a normal sort of retail or wholesale operation, it's normal to hold stock above your forecast. It's a smart thing to do, right? So that's why we have it. Now we cannot eliminate uh, uh, stock out by 100% because crazy things can always happen. So we put that number for 99.6%. So we're going to give you on winners. So we're going to give you a 0.4 possibility of a stock out. But chances are, if you connect your data, your stock outs are going to be 5%, 10%, right? So much, much more than those 0.6 that we're aiming for. Okay.
So ultimately, to jump in and maybe play devil's advocate. So what if you do see something that is coming up that is a trend that the computer isn't able to predict? How would you maybe account for that?
What you do, the computer isn't able to predict. So
So in this case, that would be something unexpected that we have buffer stock for. But say in 3 or 4 months, we know that we're opening up a new store or pairing with like a distributor, and we know that demand is going to be higher.
okay, gotcha. Now we do have. I mean, this sort of machine working with a human is a normal sort of a phenomenon, and all sort of big retailers and wholesalers use forecasting, and none of them rely on forecasting like blindfolded because there's life and there's business to be done, right? So you need to work with it. So that's why we have these forecast adjustments over here. And especially when you're opening a new point of sale or you're starting a campaign or anything of such nature, you need to tell the system. Now, the system is being very smart about knowing this information, right? Sort of we can talk about an hour, after this, about only forecast adjustments. I'm saying it's a thing that we have, it's a thing that we promote, and it's not like we're hiding it. It's a natural process, right? But our
Okay.
customers have sort of like, when they started to use the system, they not only sort of, you know, obviously save money, make more money, but in terms of how they operate, it takes so much guesswork away from you, and you save so many hours trying to figure out how much you're supposed to order, and you get that pre-prepared, right? So you only check, is this okay? Okay, okay, okay. No, 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 right? Or you check in general, and then, like, you know, after several months of using, you just don't even check. Right? That's the kind of thing that happens to you. So when you save that time, you can invest the time into something different, and suddenly you're finding out you're working for a different organization than before, a better one. All right, so replenishment. Now, what to order, when to order, how much to order. That's what this is about. So this is what we said. Good, good. Now you see that it's like SKU level, it's the order proposal, and we go into the warehouse, right? So this is the central warehouse, right? So this is the supplier. So if we would sort of send this information back to Sin7 as we can, we would group those by supplier, right? So we will prepare like a list of, you know, going to one supplier, the second one going to one supplier, and we'll also group it by location. So we'll group your POs by location and supplier, as you would normally do in everyday life. If you see a situation like this where it says supplying warehouse and a warehouse, now this is a transfer, right? So this is a proposal for coffee to be transferred in 526 pieces today from the DC to the Sydney store, right? Now, the list is sorted by date. So the most important things, the most that are missing are at the front. But we forecast 2 years ahead, right? And we give you this replenishment list 1 year ahead. So it's not only about how much I will order today, we'll show you how much you will need to order in the future. Now, let me show you how that works. I'm just going to filter out one item to give you an example. And I'm just going to do it in one warehouse. And I'll extend the date. You see, it says today, and I'm just going to go next 12 months. Okay. So you see now that I have the same SKU going to the same warehouse, but the date is different. So it starts today. Now, then you see how you'll be ordering in the future, right? Now, if you're ordering once a week or once a month or whatever, we spoke about that, and you can set that up. But you see the numbers differ because the demand that we're seeing in the future differs, right? So this is not a really seasonal product. The numbers don't change too much, but they can change dramatically, right? So you can use this tool, obviously, to get rid of your stockouts, right? To understand what we need to do today, the tactical sort of operations. But you can also use it for financial planning, right? So I can tell you that for this product, in the next year, you will spend $750,000. And you can tell that information to your supplier and go like, hey, in the next year, I'm looking at sort of spending $750,000 with you only on that item. Give me a discount. That's what I want to do, right? That's the sort of conversations that we're now sort of giving you the power to have, right? Right. So it's not only about the sort of everyday needs. It's also about the future. Now we spoke about those, you know, POs. We spoke about the transits, but then you can go into the production plan, which is something that would be asked, right? So imagine this would be a bomb, and that I would define in which location you're assembling these sort of goods from the raw materials to the thing. It tells you when you need to start production and in what numbers you need to deliver. So it's the third sort of type of recommendation that we're giving you. POs, transfers, production jobs, right? And that's it. That's what we do. Oh, obviously, I mean, there's reports. Now you get the stock overview report, which you'll be able, like, you know, just a CSV table with each SKU, each location telling you how much inventory you have in hand, how much you should be having, and the difference to tell you if it's overstock or if it's a stock out. You can download the forecast if you need to use it anyhow, anywhere else. And then you have the potential stock out report, which tells you the list of items you either don't have or you will not have because you already don't have time to purchase them. You've missed the deadline, right? We'll give you that. Now, all of this is being recalculated every day. And we kind of like to keep it plain and simple, right? Now, I hope I'm not saying too much, but we are going to sort of eventually sort of put this all into Omni, right? So we now have this sort of double app experience, but our goal is to bring sort of many of these insights that we're showing you directly into the product, right? So you won't be have to jumping there and back. Now this is no dates given, no anything like that, but I'm just telling you what the company strategy is, right? So let's have more questions because I've been speaking too much. And I'm not
Well, if
that
we ask you
interesting.
more questions, you're going to be speaking even more, but we do have quite a few questions in the chat. But before we get there, can you just go over really quickly? We have new order proposals and we know that we have the production plan, but did you go over the in-transit and in-transit items yet?
Oh yeah. So sort of you can the in transit you can avoid those because there've been sort of legacy over there for systems that we don't sort of integrate with directly, which we do. But the in transit items, that we download them on the API to understand what items are already on their way to the warehouse, right? So we're obviously not going to be recommending something that is traveling already to the company. So we keep track of whatever is on its way. So we don't recommend it, right? And again, this is synced every day. So like every 2 hours, we find out what's on its way or not, right? So Omni is really the point of truth, and we're just the slave app that's trying to sort of make sense of it all. Slave, we don't say slave, so you say with the child.
Perfect. Okay, I think we could probably get to some Q&A, Julie, if that sounds good to you and Redeem for you as well. So we did let's circle back to that winners and losers question. So if we're looking at the winners and losers, is it possible to have this divided by customer base instead of by location? For example, seeing the winners for maybe your distribution clients as opposed to your B2C clients.
Yeah, we have that use case that we for clients that are getting closer to making S&OP decisions, that we actually sort of divide sales by client. We can do that. It's not a sort of a regular service and it's not for free, but it's possible. So what we would do is we would create an artificial warehouse structure underneath the warehouse structure you have, where each one of your clients would be represented as a warehouse. So an artificial warehouse, in which sense we divide all of your sales by client. And since we have that sort of structure, then we can forecast each one of your sales, each one of your clients. And if we can do so, then anything you see in the app can be sort of be looked at from the perspective of a single client, right? Now, this is for a B2B company, right? Where you would have 20, 30 clients, which are probably wholesalers or they're like, big departments or the Walmarts and, such. We wouldn't do this service for somebody who has 50,000 clients, right? And who's just interested in like how much that person is going to buy next month. That's too much. But if you're like a B2B business, then yeah, we can set that up. It's fun to do it.
Glad to hear it. Next question, was the shipping cost added to the profit revenue view? And this might need a little bit more context.
Yeah, so we don't. So sort of all this sort of margin is only sort of based on purchase price and sales price, just the difference of it, right? So let's call it like a raw margin, right? Now, we're debating this, right? So we're debating like, should we account for other costs in the company and come up with a formula that will sort of create winners and losers based on the actual sort of margin or the actual sort of profits? And the answer is yes, we definitely have that in the roadmap. We want to do it, but we don't want to rush it, right? It's a tough calculation to make, and we want to be precise at it, right? So no dates given.
Okay, sounds
But
good.
we talk about it. We talk about it all the time.
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Next
sure.
question. In Sin 7, minimum stock quantity is just a reference point to smart buyer option to identify when that specific part needs to be ordered. There is never an option to get notified when we reach or our current stock count below our minimum stock quantity. So my question is this what Inventoro is solving for? So I think I can take part of this one and then I'll hand it off to you, Redeem. But as far as Inventoro, Inventoro is actually meant to be replacing Smart Buyers in the somewhat future. If you've used Smart Buyer, you know that it's good, but it's not great. Hence why we're adding Inventoro to the Sin 7 tech stack. Inventoro is a lot more robust, it's a lot more accurate, and it's going to save time for you overall. So that's kind of the move as far as why Inventoro has been added to our team. But Redeem, I'll let you take the rest of the question.
Yeah. I mean, but it's a good question, and I think it involves a little bit of sort of like understanding the whole philosophy of what we do, because these minimum values of retrigger points or however you want to call them. First of all, we don't really necessarily allow you to get there because we don't want to be late. We don't want to sort of stretch your company into a possibility of a stock out. Stock outs is bad, but we do obviously replenish on time, right? We try to do this. And whatever that time is can differ throughout the year because, sales happen with seasonalities. They at certain months they happen more, at certain months they happen not. And to have a flat line saying like, you reorder when we reach 50 doesn't, at certain months that's way too much. In certain months that's not enough, right? And to apply any sort of like, average logic to it just loses the point. So this, whenever we recommend a PO, is recalculated every day, and it's based on the overall sort of long-term trajectory, but it's also looking at an actual sales, right? I mean, like we might experience that you're selling much faster than expected. This can happen. Right? There's many factors that will sort of increase sales uh, above the forecast. Now we identify them extremely fast because we have an algorithm for that called demand sensing. And obviously we're not going to sort of wait before you run out, right? So we're going to recommend a PO much sooner than we would normally do, right? Because we don't want you to be out of stock, right? So yeah, that's it.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
Next question is, it looks like Inventoro does obviously need sales order history data. About how much data is needed for Inventoro to start working properly?
Okay. So we put the line at 6 months, right? 6 months worth of history as a sort of a minimum. If we want to sort of be confident with seasonalities, we want to have 2 years worth of sales, right? So when I say 2 years, we kind of use the second year as a reference to, if we identify any sort of seasons or anything like that, we want to use the second year as reference to understand if our assumptions are correct or not. Right? Now, this sounds like we're having a debate about this. This is done by our AI, right? So that thing, but yeah, so half a year minimum, 2 years ideally. Now, can you sort of add in historical data if you don't have it in Omni? Yes, you can, right? You need to talk to our onboarding team. They have a little tool for that, so we can download the history from a different place, put it into Inventoro, extend your sales history.
Awesome. So just to clarify then, if you're new to Sin 7, say within like a few months, but you do have your data elsewhere, not a problem. You can download it into Inventoro. You don't actually have to have that as part of Sin 7.
Upload it, not download.
Sorry, upload. Haven't had all my coffee yet today. Awesome. So next question, and kind of going off of that a little bit, And we can probably both speak to this as far as the onboarding process and what it looks like after you sign up with Inventoro. So there was a question, what does onboarding look like? So at this point in time, we are doing a pilot group onboarding. I find this to be really beneficial, and we've had a lot of, I'd say, really robust conversations and Q&A with our onboarding team, as well as some of the folks in our Inventoro early adopter program. And it's been really cool to see the, I guess, group learning that's been happening and see how other folks are using Inventoro. We are also going to offer one-on-one onboarding. So if that's something that you're interested in, we are working on that as well. And then on top of that, we also are offering a little bit more white glove partner onboarding. So lots of different options as far as you getting up and running with Inventoro. But as you can see with Redeem, it's a fairly out of the box, pretty much ready to go platform for a lot of users. But Redeem, this would actually be great for you to maybe chime in. Do you have any tips and tricks for folks who are getting started, like what they should be focusing on with Inventoro in the beginning?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's. Let me just make a little bit of a sort of a longer introduction before I answer your question. But I just want to say that my experience ever since I sort of joined Sin7 is that I was a part of like every single client that connected on the first days. And the more I'm here, the less I do these things. And it just goes to show how much the organization has learned about this and how is much more sort of capable of doing this. That's one part. And the other part is that we have, my data team has been, working day and night to make this as seamless as possible. And we're not stopping, right? So everything that was done manually before is now sort of being automated, and there's less and less onboarding. That's when you connect an account, there could be sort of many things that are what we call on the data validation part. Right? So just to give you an example, right? So there's different sort of points you can be considered a sale. Right? Sale can be like when you issue an invoice. Sale can be when you get the money. Sale can be when the goods leave the warehouse. I mean, there's different points in time that each customer considers a sale, right? So I can be saying, hey, I see your sales being at, 10 million this month. And you go like, well, they're 9.5 in my opinion. So we need to take a look at that point and then we can change that, right? So the solution is fast. So the first thing you use when you see, I mean, like things are off and when you connected your account and not quite perfect as you would expect, just report that. We work with that. We have a good team. I mean, our front line is ready to sort of to do that very, very fast. File a ticket, talk to people, talk to onboarding, talk to frontline. They'll get you sorted out, right? So it's about that data validation point of checking your prices, checking your inventory counts, checking your sales, and etc. Right? Usually, it's not a deal to fix these things. Right? Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. I think we have time for one more question before we do closing remarks. So we have one more question. Let's say, and if we don't answer your questions, we will follow up with you. So just as a heads up, if we don't get to you, we will answer you in an email as a follow-up. So this is actually a really good one about replenishment. So let's say you know that your supplier is going to be closed for an extended period of time. So for example, China goes on holiday, for like 2 weeks or almost a month at a time. I'm super jealous. Can this be accounted for in the forecasting side? Or I
Yeah,
guess
it's within.
as a bigger
It's
question, is it possible to skip a replenishment?
okay. So okay. Um, First of all, to that first question, right? Sort of this ability to understand when a supplier has a holiday is it's within the system and it's not yet sort of on front end. So I was just writing the roadmap yesterday and we put that thing down, right? I mean, like supplier holidays, that's how we know it, right? So buckle up and wait. But in the meantime, sure, you have to keep this information and just order more. We're not telling you you get to order. We're just making recommendations, right? So if you want to make a longer order, and we're telling you, hey, order this T-shirt white, in this amount for today. I can extend that number by making. What did I just do over here? So I'll just do this like, in the next 60 days. And I'm going to extend that number to 12,762, right? So I can prolong the duration of the PO if I want to give you a chance to go on a holiday for that matter. I mean, if you don't get if you don't get an opportunity um, to do it, right? And you can also be using this like for making like what if scenarios, right? Sometimes you would find it cheaper, having a better price to order more. But, go for it. And if you want to order more, we'll tell you how much more, and we'll tell you how long it's going to last, right? And you get to decide. I mean, is holding inventory sort of worthwhile? Is sort of, am I going to miss the cash? And it's okay. I mean, like if you're piled with cash, then spend it on inventory. We'll tell you how to spend it smart.
Perfect. I think that was a great last remark. But in closing, thank you so much, Radim. Thank you so much, Julie. I hope everyone enjoyed this webinar and got a lot of value out of it.